Hello, it's Anna Hill here with the Farming Today podcast. Today, new strategies for tackling African swine fever. We ask how much is being done to stop it getting here in the first place. First, though, all week we're taking a closer look at the challenges for agriculture in Northern Ireland, and on Friday we'll be at the Balmoral show just outside Belfast. Farming is one of the most dangerous jobs you can do, but if you're working alone and have pressure to keep on working, the consequences of injuries, especially if they're minor, can get ignored, and that can lead to serious problems like sepsis. A new campaign is being launched at the Balmoral show today, supported by Sepsis UK to raise awareness. Marshall Wiley, a farmer from Cookstown, told Louise Cullen about his frightening experience of contracting sepsis from just a small scratch.
First thing I done was wash my two arms and kept washing them. And I put iodine over the cut, rubbed it in, and then put a patch over it. Never thought anything more of it. The Thursday night, Friday morning, I was up and down. It's like something was brewing. It's like a flu. Like something was not right. Being a typical farmer, it's a flu, nothing to worry about. Went on ahead, into work. But then I stopped, and 2 seconds later, whoop, I was sick. And Karen, she says to me, there's something not right with you. And she took one look at me. And before she rung 999, she says, you have sepsis. A few weeks later, I come out of the coma, and the doctor come to me and he says, you know something, you're a complete and utter miracle. You actually passed away and then come back. Then I looked and I said, jeepers, my index finger and my left hand was pure black. My thumb on the left hand was black. My middle finger was black. And my middle finger on the right hand was black, with a set of black lips, black ears. Looked at my feet, and my feet were all black. Every time I looked at my feet, I actually did say, are you just going to get my feet fixed? Don't let them take my feet, because that's my livelihood. And I turned around and I lost my legs. It was very traumatic. I had never ever heard of sepsis. I never ever thought about it. There's many a time on the farm you get scratches, you get this, that and other. Do we ever look about it? No. Like I took a wee scratch on my arm and I was fighting for my life. And I couldn't believe it. If in doubt, get checked out.
Farmer Marshall Wiley there with the best advice. Now, political uncertainty is dominating the headlines, but yesterday the King delivered his speech outlining what the government hopes to achieve in its next parliamentary session, no matter who's at the helm. Keen-eared farmers might not have picked up anything to do with their lives from the speech itself, which was just over 12 minutes long. I asked Philip Case, chief reporter at Farmers Weekly, if anything had caught his eye.
I did check the speech, and in fact the words food, farming and agriculture weren't mentioned at all. That said, farming was still quite heavily affected by some of the announcements on several policy areas. I suppose the biggest was probably the proposed Clean Water Bill, which could bring tighter regulation around nutrient runoff, slurry management and river pollution. It was also quite notable the focus on energy security and expanding renewable and nuclear energy in particular. And for farming, that means increasing competition for land through things like solar, wind and other infrastructure projects. And I suppose finally, the final but of course a very important issue was trade. I think the government has already signalled closer ties with the EU through a dynamic alignment or SPS agreement. And there was mention in the King's speech of a European partnership bill. That could really affect agricultural exports, border checks and future food standards.
There were some things which were obviously missing, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I suppose the key thing for me, which was missing, was that there was a lot of talk about economic defence and energy security, but there was absolutely no mention whatsoever of food security. And at a time of huge geopolitical uncertainty, this is an area that the government has been coming under increasing pressure to address. And nothing at all on public procurement of food. They've set a target to really ramp up this area, but we've had no real mention of that since the Labour government mentioned the policy.
There is so much uncertainty about the leadership in the Labour Party and, of course, the Prime Minister at the moment. That adds, I suppose, to a general sense of uncertainty in the farming industry. Do you think farmers are feeling a little bit nervous?
I really do. And I think that if there's one thing which I've found over the years, the one thing which farmers hate, it is that word uncertainty. And farming is a long-term business, as we know. Farmers need many years, or they need policies which stretch out over many years to instill confidence in them to actually invest in their own businesses. But what we have currently at DEFRA, for example, is just a delay and a logjam of important policies which we're still waiting to see, basically. And I can name a few of them now. We're still waiting for the refreshed bovine TB strategy. We're also waiting for DEFRA's response to Baroness Batter's independent review of farming. And there's also the fairness in the combinable crop supply chain. That was due at least by now. It should have been out already, and there's no mention of that yet. So there's very much a feeling within farming that the government is in a state of flux. It may be struggling to understand what it wants and also what relationship it actually wants with the country's farmers. And behind all this is, of course, the uncertainty over the Middle East conflict and the impact that is going to have, without a doubt, on farming going forward, and in particular as we go through into the summer and into the autumn planting season. It looks difficult, I must say.
Philip Case, Chief Reporter at Farmers Weekly. The government's launched a new strategy to combat African swine fever. It's a very infectious virus found in pigs and pig meat. It doesn't affect people, but pigs can infect each other, and it can also travel on boots or car tyres. If someone discards infected meat like a ham sandwich, it could be eaten by a wild boar or pig, which then gets the disease. It's been gradually spreading across Europe. Earlier this year, in Spain, there was an outbreak involving more than 150 cases. The UK government's already banned all personal meat imports, and its new strategy will bring tighter surveillance requirements and control zones in the event of an outbreak. This, it says, will help farmers avoid blanket movement restrictions on live pigs and pork products, reducing pressures such as overcrowding and enabling day-to-day operations to continue more smoothly. The new measures also apply to classical swine fever, which did break out in the UK back in 2000, when 180,000 pigs had to be slaughtered as animal movement restrictions led to overcrowding. I asked the chief vet, Christine Middlemiss, what the new strategy means for farmers.
So it's all about making the framework, while still effective for disease control, a bit more tailored, responsible, flexible to the actual on-the-ground situation.
Are you releasing this strategy because you think the threat is imminent?
So we've been at medium risk of the incursion of African swine fever actually for a few years now. Most of that is because of the slow westward spread in Europe from wild boar. We do see these long-distance jumps into Italy, into Belgium at one point, Germany and so on, and we're very mindful of that. We've learned a lot from how the Europeans and the Caribbean and others have been responding to their outbreaks. So, for example, this flexible approach, and we've taken those learnings and put them into the new strategy.
The reason why African swine fever crosses countries is often due to illegal imports of meat. Now, we've reported many times about the problem here in the UK. Last month, Dover Port Health Authority told us they intercepted more than 14.2 tonnes of illegal meat in the last week of March alone. So doesn't that have to change first?
So we continue to work with Dover and provide them with funding to look at exactly this, to pick up these illegal movements of meat. And the fact that they're finding some, whilst disappointing, means that having the checks is effective. But yes, managing the illegal imports continues to be really important, as does biosecurity at farm level too, and our ongoing advice about don't feed food products to pigs, even if you're out walking around and they're feral pigs.
The Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Select Committee heard that lorry loads of legal imported meat failing to get inspected at Fenton for their vet inspections. Now, have you got a hold of that? Because that obviously means that even though this stuff is legal, it's not getting inspected.
Well, it has documentary checks, which for me is the really important part. And because that's the bit, as you say, that you check the export health certificate online and you can see, yes, it's come from a listed establishment, it's come from a part of a country that we know doesn't have disease. Those for me are the really critical checks in relation to animal health. We are working with both Fenton and the Inland Trading Standards and local authorities about following up on lorries that don't stop. Those are particularly for their physical checks of the product, which for animal disease is probably a bit less important. It's those export health certificates signed off by an official vet in the other country that really matter to me.
There is to be a new alignment with the EU. That's mentioned in the King's speech. That's supposed to make trade much easier, but doesn't it also mean that there's more of a threat if checks are slightly eased?
Well, being back in a single market or single SPS area, so animal health area, if you like, will mean that we will have access again to the IT systems and intelligence that is within the EU, which we don't have at the moment, and that will be hugely helpful. Understanding really quickly on the ground what disease situations are and working as a member of that single market to make sure it's controlled in the country of origin. So that, if you like, for me is a kind of trade-off. You get access to that intelligence, the systems and things.
These things have to be joined up, though, don't they? The strategy that you're announcing to deal with the disease if it gets here and the prevention of the disease getting here.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to do prevention, detection, response, and then a really important part for us that we maybe don't talk about so much is recovery. So, you've had an outbreak, but the key is to get back to disease-free status and back to trade again, because that's what drives product through the market. So it's really important. Working, therefore, not just with the EU, but with the many third countries that we export to.
Chief Vet Christine Middlemiss. And if you want to comment on anything in the programme, you can always email us. It's farming.today@bbc.co.uk. That's all from us. I'm Anna Hill. The producer was Beatrice Fenton. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.